It's Sunday, June 13th, and I thought I'd give a little walk around here on the Baby Ace that I bought back in February. I'm kind of sick today, so my voice sounds a little funny, and I'm not flying the airplane, just working on it. But I thought I'd give a kind of an overview of some of the cool little features of this Baby Ace. First off, it was, according to the logbooks, it was originally started in the 1960s. And then it got partially built, but sat for a long period of time, and another guy acquired it. And in the early 90s, he got the airplane finished, and then it's got, since that time, around 800 hours total time on it. So it's been doing some flying for sure, but it's still in really, really good condition. So we'll look at some of the big pieces here first. It's got a Continental A65 on it that seems to be both attractive and running great, so that's pretty awesome. It also came with a Culver prop. So pretty cool to have a prop made by Elena, and it's doing just great for me. Got no complaints at all. The only thing I might want to do eventually is maybe get a new prop and have the laminations have contrasting colors just for a little more visual pop. But real happy with the way both the engine and the prop are performing. It's got Bendix mags on it and a Stromberg carb. And again, everything seems to be running very happy here at the moment. Moving on to the gear, this is a really important part of what I love about this airplane. It came with these Aero Classic 850 tires, and they're Matco wheels and Matco disc brakes. And the really cool thing about these tires, well, there's a variety of things that are cool about them. They're lightweight, they're just a 4-ply, they're smooth, they're 850s but kind of oversized. Like the Super Cub I restored from a brother out in California, it had 850s, but they were traditional aircraft 850s, and I think they were somewhat smaller than this. But the other thing that I just figured out today about these is these are actually tubeless. And if you look at the wheel, you can see that the valve stem is mounted into the wheel. And I did some research real quick before I made this video. The Matco wheels then have a seal between the two halves, where the two halves of the wheel come together to allow it to be a tubeless tire. Now, those things might be an indicator of why I'm having a slow leak on this left tire. So at least now I've got a little better idea of what I need to be looking at. I'll admit I've just been flying the airplane because things have been pretty well dialed in. And so now I'm starting to take a closer look at the details of the airplane, things that might need tightened up a little bit or rethought, which one of those things was actually right away the windshield. This is a new windshield that I made from scratch. The one that was on there had all kinds of issues, and so far the new windshield and these new little mounting brackets that I made for it are working absolutely beautifully. And I made it just a little bit smaller than before. Part of the reason is that well, my brother with the Super Cub, he actually bought a Baby Ace as well, and so he came up with a really good way to get in it. And the idea is that you put your left leg in first, and then you lean way out the left side of the airplane, and to do that, you reach up here and grab the down tube so that you can stabilize yourself as you lean way out. The other windshield was a little bit larger, and it made it kind of hard to grab this tube, so that's the reason for making it a little bit smaller. But if you look at it from the front, it's not small by any means. It's just a little smaller than it was. So the windshield's working great, and I'm 60 years old and a little on the heavy side, and I have no trouble really getting in and out of this airplane, and that'll only get better as I get more time in it. Of course, I love the fact that I call it the Quasi Cub because it's got Cub yellow and a lightning bolt on the side, but of course it's a Baby Ace. Another thing that's kind of interesting, I'm not exactly sure why, but you can kind of see it here, but there's a pretty sharp edge on the leading edge of the wing. And I don't know if that's something under the fabric. It's a remarkably straight line, so it seems more like it's actually the wood, but I'm not sure why there'd be such a sharp edge there. Interestingly, it stalls very slow, and it's very stable in the stall, so I don't see it as being a problem. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. Might be something to learn a little more about. Here's something that's really cool. This airplane came already this way when I bought it with this is a really big EAA old logo. It's actually been built up. These are vinyl over vinyl. Somebody really put a lot of work into that, and I'm just a big fan of the old original logo. Kind of fanatic about that, so it's pretty awesome that this airplane came with that. Let's look inside, because there's another thing that's kind of interesting about the brakes. So it's got Scott Master cylinders like you'd have in a Cub, or even that Super Cub that I did. And so those are awesome because they're, you know, a classic piece of equipment that's just awesome, and they're perfectly positioned. The heel brakes work just great, and I'm a weirdo. I absolutely adore heel brakes, I'm sorry, as opposed to toe brakes. And I know that puts me in the minority, but heel brakes to me are just fantastic, especially if the pedal is in a good spot, and they're absolutely perfect here. I got no troubles whatsoever. And the thing I always tell people is with a heel brake, you're never going to accidentally apply brakes. And toe brakes, you can do that in a variety of situations. So anyway, loving the heel brakes. So here's the panel, very, very simple, wood panel. So we got the, I don't know, there we go. Got the tack and the carb heat over here at the far left. And we got airspeed and a compass, which, you know, we don't pay attention to the compass anymore. Because I do have over here a mount for an iPhone where I can put ForeFlight on. But anyway, so we got oil temp, oil pressure, we got a ball there, the primer, altimeter, and then I'm really grooving on this nice small size lever mag switch, which I've not done the research. I don't know what the origin of these smaller ones is, but I'm definitely not a fan of keyed mags. I just don't like that look. And toggle switches, whatever. But these old levers, man, they're just awesome. So really happy that it's got that. And then this mount for the iPhone is working fantastic. I got it off of Amazon. It's cast aluminum, so it's quite robust. It's got cranks on both sides, so it clamps in on the phone without the case on it. It holds it just incredibly stable. It's for a motorcycle, so it's meant for, you know, high velocity situations. And of course, it's quite safe here behind the windshield. But I just simply mounted it with wood screws right into the panel, and that seems to be working really, really well. I've used the iPhone in there several times already, and it's just worked fantastic. So here's another thing I love about this. It's got the military style seat belts, but they're the small web and the small hardware, which back in the day we had a Breezy with the big old 3-inch hardware on it, and I just got a little tired of it being so bulky. These are awesome because I like this so much better than a modern or a, you know, like an automotive seat belt. So pretty cool, it's got that. The one complaint I would have is by having these sewn loops on the ends of the shoulder harness, they're a little hard to stack up onto the tang there, and they kind of get in the way. So maybe I'll be switching those out to the metal ends that fit much nicer over that tang. But anyway, and then the little seat here, seat cushion, it's thin foam, but it's real comfortable. One thing though that's very different about this airplane than the one my brother has out in California, his seat back is mounted so you can swing it forward, and there's also a baggage area built into this, which I do not have. So I really don't have any baggage area to speak of. However, just the last Saturday, I flew over to Kankakee, and right here underneath my right leg, I had a backpack full of all kinds of stuff, and it's completely out of the way. I didn't even know it was there once I was in the air. So at the moment, like for Oshkosh, I think I'll just put stuff in the backpack, and then my plan is for the other bulky things for Oshkosh, I'm actually going to ship those up there so I don't have to put them in the airplane. It's got the awesome Corbin Baby Ace vinyl sticker, which is pretty cool. Another thing that's kind of nice compared to the one my brother has, the fairing here between the vertical and the horizontal is very nicely made on this one. So that's just kind of nice. The whole airplane is remarkably well built and in remarkably good condition, given that it does have some age and some time on it. Here's another awesome feature, this tail wheel. It's another Matco product, and it's got that real wide tail wheel tire, and it's a pretty big tail wheel. I love it, absolutely love it. I love the look, the function, and this thing taxis just beautifully. Oh, I got a nice batch of ants, it looks like, there in the hangar. There's no extra charge for you getting to see that. Also, you can see the GoPro that I mounted right on the tail spring for a couple of videos that I've done here recently. Look pretty cool. Here's another neat feature. So I put this little paracord on here because the spring that holds this little piece of tube that becomes a handle, pulls it in below flush, and it's hard to get out. But this thing's pretty handy. A baby ace is typically very light on the tail to begin with, so you really don't need much. But rather than lifting on the stab up here, it's a lot nicer to be able to lift off of that little tube, but then to have it go in flush is kind of a neat little feature. So, and then also, let me show. Here's the GoPro that I have mounted on the wing, which I think is kind of fun. I need to change this orange because that's not very pretty. But what's kind of cool about this, though, this fitting here, the airfoil shaped fitting on the strut, is actually from the Super Cub project. It was an A model Super Cub, so it was the agricultural airplane. And this was really meant to mount back on the rear strut of the Super Cub as part of supporting a spray rig. So I've made pretty good use of that old original 1959 Piper piece to easily mount very securely and in just the right spot the GoPro camera, which so far that view that it's getting from here, which this isn't nearly as wide angle, it's working out great. Really happy with that. Let's see, I have a plan. Eventually I was going to try to get this done before Oshkosh, but probably not going to happen. I was going to switch the door to be a fold down door rather than a forward swinging door. I have a little bit of a challenge there because this back top corner will come down here and just interfere with the rear strut. So I'm going to have to put a little more thought into that. But I thought to carry the Cub theme a little bit further, a fold down door would be kind of a fun little change to make. I'm liking the springs. This thing's actually pretty soft on the springs. I don't know if you can see, but it rocks real easily. And at first I thought that might be an issue, but so far it's not been, there's been no downside to it. And if anything, it just makes this gear really soft and very, very enjoyable. And again, with those big tires, it's just fabulous. I will show out here. I didn't do this, because it was this way when I got it. They said it had been run into the hangar door at one time, and then it's been patched. Excuse me. And so I'm going to try to get that painted up before Oshkosh so it looks a little more like it's supposed to. But otherwise, really, for the most part, the airplane's in remarkably good condition. It's a great flying little airplane. I've become a huge convert to the joys of the Baby Ace for affordable flying. And being that it's open cockpit, it's absolutely fantastic. And at this point, I can't ever imagine selling an airplane like this. It's so affordable, you can't get much money back out of it. But man, oh man, you can get smiles after smiles after smiles with this thing. Just a hoot to fly. Oh, also, it is not, does not have a starter. And I love to prop airplanes. And what I do, and I've noticed a lot of people don't do it this way, but I'll mention this. So what I do is I straddle the gear leg so that not only does it give me great stability, but it gives me much more control over holding the airplane back. And then I grab the down tube and then I reach up to the prop. So I'm extremely secure right here, and I can completely hold the airplane back no matter, even if it's full throttle, I should be able to hold the airplane back. So I love that feature. There's no sense having excess weight, especially on a light airplane like this, so no starter is a perfect way to go. So, hey, that's my little Baby Ace. Love this thing, and thanks for watching, and hey, if you get up to Oshkosh, look for me.